You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's kind of why I said, let's just give them the real. I want people to get all of their fears out about cutting short hair. And
Yes.
I can't take this trade with me when I leave. So I need to educate and inform
Oh,
as
come
many
on.
people, before that, and just help people and teach.
A big tune.
Another episode of Unveil. My name is Nicole Bozell, and on this platform, I interview women of color on discovering the beauty that lives and lies within them. We also take a closer look through their eyes on their interpretation of what they define as beautiful. They say the number 7 is often considered lucky. It has a definite mystique, perhaps because it's a prime number, and it cannot be obtained by multiplying. But Paula, who has opened her business 7 times, has shown us that when you do something more than once, your chances of succeeding are eminent. Paula Hawkins is the owner of Paula Perfect Pixies, specializing in 20 plus years of experience with short hair. Paula is more than just her skill set. She is a woman who defines the relentless approach of you never stop until you get what you want. So without further ado, Paula Hawkins.
Hello, how are you?
Great, great. Thank you so much for doing this interview. Thank you so much for being a part of the Unveil family. As you can see, Paula is like in her car. So this is a new for us, a first, but she is en route to her stomping grounds of Atlanta for some personal things. But hey, the show doesn't stop. So we're going to continue on going. Yes. So first question, of course, for those of us that don't know, and who you are, growing up, who or what were your beauty inspirations, and how has that evolved to who you are presently?
Okay, so growing up, I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi. So let's see, my beauty inspirations, I always thought that Diana Summers was really, really beautiful. She was beautiful to me. Of course, Diana Ross was gorgeous. Susan Taylor, I thought Susan Taylor was just really, really beautiful. Let's see who else was beautiful to me. My mother, I've always thought my mother was a very, very attractive woman. So
Yeah, she's
that's
gorgeous.
thank you. That's probably the people who inspired me, as far as beauty. On the weekends growing up, my mother is a true Southern belle, and Jackson, Mississippi is a real collegiate city rather, when it comes to football, and Jackson State and all that, which
Oh,
Jackson State has been in the limelight a lot lately in the past few years because of Deion Sanders. But we've always been that family that on Saturdays we woke up, and as soon as we got up, my mother started the whole beauty regimen. She would be like,
oh,
okay, as we're doing our chores, she would, like have she always had like some type of concoction, a mask or something like that for us to
yeah.
have on. Either we had on a mask, or I remember she would always have that nair or something like that on our brows while we were doing our chores, and she was doing a roller set on us or pressing our hair and doing
Nice.
things like that, getting us ready for that day, because we were definitely going to the Jackson State football game, which was a big deal every Saturday. So the ritual was just that, and get up, get your little makeup on if you're gonna have some makeup on, and you go shopping. So it was all about that growing up. Yeah, so that's what it was for me growing
Yeah.
up. That was my lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of like your mother, I had met your mom at your grand opening, and she is
Oh
so
yeah,
sweet because when I brought in the
yeah,
flowers, she's like, "Oh, the flowers are like so gorgeous." And
yeah.
one of the tidbits that she had mentioned to me is, and I guess she's just like so proud of like being your mom, is that she's like, this is her 7th business. This is her 7th
Yeah,
business. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? Because
yeah,
honestly, starting a business is hard enough, but
yeah.
the process of like starting it over and then doing another one and then doing another one, I think I probably would have stopped at like maybe 3, because I'm just like, I don't know if I can keep going, because I have to have this, there has to be this like moment for me of letting go. Sometimes I have a hard time, especially with clothes, that I'm just like, I don't know if I want to let this go and start over again.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just want to know, like, what mindset do you cultivate to launch a business? Not once, not twice, but like 7 times.
Well, I mean, honestly, it just kept happening. I opened a salon. I was a flight attendant prior to opening my business. So I was a flight attendant for
Oh,
11 years, and right out of Jackson State. I left Jackson State at the age of 19, and I started flying. So I flew for 2 different airlines for 11 years, Northwest being one of them, which is now Delta. So I did that, and just starting out as such a young person into a corporate arena, you just kind of you stay there. But I knew it didn't fit me very well.
mm,
So, but I still did it because it became a lifestyle. A flight attendant is a lifestyle. It's almost like military. All of your friends adapt to that style that you're living in. All your friends, so it just kind of happened for 11 years. But I knew eventually that would not be the thing for me. I didn't know what would be the thing, but I knew that that probably wouldn't. And so I ventured out, and I just kind of really got tired of flying. And I ventured out to literally to a tech school in Atlanta. I was living in Atlanta. So I ventured out to a tech school, and I'm like,
ah,
what is it that I really want to do? And back then, so this is, say, what, 24, 25 years ago.
yes.
um, I literally, um, I literally looked down the list. They didn't have like these fancy websites then, and a lot has changed in 25 years, if you would believe it or not. But they didn't have really big fancy websites. They more so had brochures and different things like that. So I literally went to the school and started looking down the line, and I just kept falling back on cosmetology. Not that I could do hair, because I was not that girl that grew up just doing everybody's hair like most hairstylists say. Oh,
Mm,
I've been doing hair since I was 5. That wasn't me. I was outside playing kickball or something. You know what I mean? So I started it, and I thought in my mind that, okay, I can be flexible with my schedule. I think I will go with cosmetology, and I decided to do it. So I started school very quickly. I took a leave from I took what we call a crazy leave. I took a leave for my mental health from flying, and I only had a year. And so that's when I started cosmetology school. And I said, okay, I got to do this really, really fast. And, hopefully, I'm making the right decision. And as I got into it, I started really, really liking it. Although those girls in school with me was running circles around me. Literally,
what?
I'm like, oh God, I'm so out of
I
my element.
never thought. Mm,
So, needless to say, this was when French rolls and everybody had updos and, the whole waves and
yes.
things like that. That was during that era. And I sucked at that. I'm just like, okay, God, this has got to go out of style, because I will never make any money, because I couldn't do it. I just physically couldn't do it. Like, I would try, and I would look at all my colleagues, my classmates, and so bring the arrow. I would look at my friends and stuff, and I'm like, how are they able to do this? And I couldn't. So I almost gave up so many times, but I just kept at it, and I knew that my niche eventually would be short hair. I knew that in
Why?
cosmetology.
How?
And
Why? How? How do
well,
you that?
well, I started working at a salon as a salon assistant. I was actually assisting the owner. So
Mm,
yeah, I was assisting the owner, and she specialized in short hair. And so I just took a liking to short hair, and I was wearing short hair at the time. So I just kind of pivoted towards that because I just liked it. It just gave so much style to a person, so much of an edge. So I just kind
mhm.
of stayed in that lane. And that's eventually, which was so crazy, because in cosmetology school, they had a competition every quarter, right? So every quarter, every 3 months, I would be in the competition. You had to participate, and every quarter I would lose. I would lose tremendously. Like, it would be
Wow.
crazy. And I'm like, I would cry. And that would be the end of that quarter. That competition, they would be the last day of the quarter. And, you go back to, for the next quarter, whatever. And I would cry, it would break my heart every time I would lose, every freaking time. And it would be on mannequins. It would be like all this stuff. And so I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm making the right decision.
Oh,
So,
wow.
the fourth quarter, by this time, I had kind of gotten comfortable with this is something that I want to do. And it is what it is. And this competition is not going to break me. Me not winning competitions is not going to break me as a stylist. I'm going head first.
Hi, friend. I'm breaking up this conversation because our connection is vital to me. I'm enjoying this dialogue that I'm having with my guests, but I want to know, what are you experiencing listening to us? How are you feeling? What's resonating with you at this moment? Look, I can't see you, of course. What we can do together is connect in the comment section down below and cultivate a relationship there. And when you're ready, no pressure, subscribe to this channel. When I see a thumbs up, that tells me you like what you hear, and in turn, those likes and subscriptions will grow this channel. Thank you so much for your time. Hope to talk to you down below, and thanks again. Now let's get back to the interview. It is getting very good. Talk to you soon.
The fourth competition was the final competition. I hadn't won any of them, any competition. So I hadn't even placed. And so the fourth one, I was just like, whatever, I'm not tripping. I'm not going to let it bother me. And you had to do a live model and everything. And so, story's really, I'm gonna make it quick. So I had a model, I had a live model, and I was just at this point, I'm like, I'm doing short hair. Everybody here is doing, bobs and crimps and waves and French rolls and all of this. I'm like, I'm going with short hair.
Yes.
That's what I like. That's what I'm gonna do on my model. And I did that on my model. And long story short, I won champion stylist, and I had not placed in the competition the entire year. And I won first place champion stylist, and I acted like I had won the lotto. Powerball. I was so excited, and I just cried, and I just knew it made me feel like, okay, because that was the most important competition. You know what I'm saying?
Which is so interesting, because you sharing that was, now it makes sense why you opened your business 7 times, because you just never gave up. You were like,
never gave up.
I'm gonna cry this out, but I'm gonna do this again and again and again. Now that makes sense, because I always feel that the decisions or how your life or the trajectory of your life, there are certain examples that are placed and set there that are core memories for you that you don't even realize in the back of your thoughts are
never thought about it like that.
Forefront. Yeah, like even when you're saying like, oh, I was just a kickball girl, but your mom instilled in you the fact of the how can I say, I don't want to say like responsibility, but the care of taking care of yourself, right?
Oh, absolutely. It is a responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so to see that, and so to see that day in and day out growing up, you don't even realize that pretty much instilled in you and gave you a push to say, maybe I can do this. I have this history in me.
It was there. I didn't know it, but so I jumped out, and I thought that I was starting really late. I think I was maybe 29 at the time. And I just thought that everybody started becoming a hairstylist at the age of 20, when they graduate from high school or college or whatever. And so I just hit the ground running. I'm like, okay, these people are going to be light years in front of me. Because I never want to be, behind the times or anything like that. And so as soon as I came out of, cosmetology school, I hit the ground running, and I got into a salon that I couldn't afford, but I knew that it was a sacrifice. I needed the additional education. School is only going to teach you so much. So I went into a salon that was packed with really senior stylists, and they were amazing stylists. And of course, I was an underdog. I didn't have any clients or anything like that, but I knew that I loved what I was doing, and I was going in the right direction. I had one client, and that was my sister, and she was free. So, but every time she would leave out of that salon, I'm like, go and give my cards out, yada, yada, yada. So it just really picked up really quick. And then I got my first celebrity client referred to me. It was a young lady. It was Jackie Reed. If you remember Jackie Reed from BET. She used to be on CNN, but she became a spokesperson for BET, and she's still very, relevant right now too. But so she became my first short hair client. She was a really big time anchor person on CNN. She was very popular, pretty black woman. She had a trademark, and she always had her collar popped, and
Yeah.
she was just really pretty. And so after that 2 years, I was a hairstylist, and then I opened up my first salon. Not really ready, but just knew that it was time, because what I was paying the salon, and I could do myself. I felt like I could do myself. I had built up a stable enough clientele that I could do it, and I knew that going in, I didn't want to complain about what other salon owners did or didn't do. So I felt like I needed to do it myself, and I opened my first salon in 2002, and it's
Nice.
been rolling ever since. So each I quickly would outgrow a space. So every
Okay,
time I would
that's what was
outgrow,
happening. Okay. Mm-hmm.
I would get another space. I would
Mm-hmm.
get a larger space, or I would get a
Got
better
you.
space. And so
Okay.
it just I went through the recession and everything, but it just kept happening. It
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
yeah.
When you're speaking about marketing, right? And you're saying
Mhm.
like I gave my sister my business card. But
Mhm.
essentially, she is a walking billboard for you to say, oh my God, who did your hair? Right.
Right,
And
right,
in the late 90s, like early 2000s, guerrilla marketing was huge because there was no area of like social media at that point
right.
to really propel someone's business. What
Right.
I absolutely love about you, Paula, is like you utilize social media like no
Yeah.
other, right? And
I
what I
do.
mean by that, and for anyone that's watching, is when you're using social media, especially specifically Instagram,
Mhm.
Instagram is very key on you utilizing all four of their wheels on their vehicle, right? And if you're asking like, okay, what are
Right.
the four wheels? You have to do a live, a post, a story, and a reel. So
Correct.
once you utilize all four, it attracts more followers. And
Hmm.
and I don't know, someone like Paula, I was just like, my Paula is on live, like again, like it's like maybe 2 to 3 times a week, you know what I mean? And so
Right, right, right.
it's like so commendable because a lot of times, men and women are not open to new education. They're not open to ongoing education or learning something new. They just want to, if this works for them, then it works for them. I don't know if it's a
Right.
fear. I don't know if it's just they feel like it's going to take time, but nonetheless, ongoing education in any field is important. I mean, you learn
Correct.
something new every day. And one of
Correct.
the port like this, I guess like sectors or like portions of your business that is very commendable is that you have this platform at which you bring in other stylists to do one-on-one classes.
Mhm.
And I think it's just so great because, well, one thing is that when you do hair, that's one thing, but when you do short hair, that is a complete beast. Like that is
Yeah.
something that you really have an understanding of because the weight of someone's hair, how it shapes their face, how it frames it, really plays a role because now it really opens up to seeing someone's like beauty or structure of their
Absolutely.
facial features. That you do these one-on-one classes, and I've jumped in watching a live with you talking about introducing each hairstylist, and it's very so warm to see that people are very humble in the fact that even if they have their own salon, they're open to learning new ways and on like new approaches of how to cut hair and how to style it.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think
I'm
you
just
should.
yeah, I'm just curious, with over 2 decades of experience as a hairstylist, why do you find it crucial to offer hands-on classes that utilize live models, not mannequins?
Right. Well, I knew that, I've always been a teacher, even in my own salon settings before I started doing classes for pay. I've always been one to make sure that all of my stylists are very educated and on theory and on practical, meaning on
Mm.
the background, because before you can style hair, you have to understand what it is and what how to take care of it and things of that nature. So I've always been that person. So many people started asking me, oh, Paul, you should teach classes. You should teach classes. And I'm like, but once I got to thinking about it, it made sense because that was a whole different stream of income. But I knew
Mm.
that going in, it had to be something different than most people because there's so many classes out there on the market. Everybody wants to teach a class, you
Yes.
know. So there were
Yes.
so many different classes on the market. I knew that I needed to do something. And I'd gone to classes where, you take your model, you take your mannequin and you're cutting, and it's a mannequin. It's a doll. It's literally a doll. Like they actually put the hair in and the hair is growing straight out and you have to, try to form it and try to make it do what you want it to do, but it's still a doll at the end of the day. And I felt like it just took away something from the learning experience. So I knew that going in, if I really wanted a person to really get it, I needed them to have the same experience in class as they would have in their own salon setting,
Mm.
and it's
Mhm.
a whole difference. And so once I started doing it, I had no idea how difficult it would be teaching classes. Like I may have 15 students. I can only have a student for every station that I have because
Mhm.
you're in a station, like you're taking a client that day. And so I would do this thing where we started out doing live models with maybe underprivileged people who probably couldn't afford to come in. Like I think the first time I did it, I used women from a battered women's shelter, and
Mm.
that gave them the opportunity to have their hair styled, and it gave the stylist an opportunity to practice on a head that they would get the same experience as if they were in their salon with the client. And it just kind of took off, and more and more people felt like, oh my God, this is so different than a mannequin. And I just kind of stuck with it, and I just feel like it's more of a learning experience than a mannequin. And it's just, you can really, especially with short hair. Longer hair on a mannequin, you can kind of get away with it because the weight
Yes.
and the gravity holds it down. Short hair, that hair is not going to lay on a mannequin like that. You'll get the concept,
Mhm.
but you won't be able to really mold that hair. And molding is 50% of the game. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's kind of why I said, let's just give them the real. I want people to get all of their fears out about cutting short hair. And
Yes.
I can't take this trade with me when I leave. So I need to educate and inform
Oh,
as
come
many
on.
people, before that, and just help people and teach people.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
cannot do all the hair in the world. So I never looked at it like it's a competition. Like, why would I give other people, the secrets that I have? Someone gave me those secrets, and
Yes.
I took classes and I had to do things like that. So to me, it's kind of a pay it forward type of situation. And, you
Absolutely.
know, it always works out. And I think clients love it just as much as the hairstylists and the students. Clients are always on my live, like they love seeing me teach this craft to other people. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's even more endearing to hear hairstylists' final like thoughts after your class
mhm.
and
Well,
saying like this is
testimonies,
yeah, their
yeah,
testimonies to say that this is
yeah,
one of the best experiences that I had. Because
yeah,
you're as you're saying, you're right. There are so many classes out there, and it's like, which one do you take? Do you really get fully the education behind it? And
right,
so yeah, that makes me smile when I'm just like, yeah, that's my hairstylist.
yeah, that's right. And I also went in it with teaching and using terminology that's layman's terms. You know what I mean? It's so easy for us to go in, and of course I know all the technical, jargon or whatever, if you will, that I learned in school. But how important is that when it comes to translating that to a student that doesn't understand?
Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
it sounds good, it looks good, and all of this, but at the end of the day, they need to know exactly what to do. And if they don't understand what 90 degrees or 40 degrees or elevation, different things of that nature, in this hands-on class, I come in. If I'm doing a one-on-one, honestly, my big classes are like a one-on-one because you have to give them one-on-one time, so I try to really, really make it really plain to them. And I'm like, okay, yeah, so you're going to have your hand turned like this, and you're going to follow the shape of the head and different things like that so that they can really understand it, as opposed to saying, hold the hair at a 90-degree angle, elevation should be at a 0, and things like that. That's not necessarily a language that everybody understands. You need to be able to translate what you're saying, and they need to really get it, because the classes are not cheap at all. You know what I mean? And the work is very hard. So I'm definitely, I deserve every penny that I charge, because it's a
Yeah.
lot of work.
Would
But I want to make sure at the end of the day they get every bit of it, and they can actually go into their own workspace and say, hey, I got this. And that's what makes me smile all the time when they call me back and they're like, Paula, I did 6 pixies this week, and oh my God,
what?
I am raking in the dough now,
Yeah.
and it's a life changer for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what warms me.
Would you still, Paula, would you still recommend that if someone is going into cosmetology, that they still do go into class, like a school or a university or some type of area where they get a certificate for, like, have the set of foundation, at least understanding that, or is that not necessary anymore? Like, do you not need to
What
go
do you
to
mean?
do you not need to
Post?
go to cosmetology school? Do you still say that, yes, you
Oh,
do
no,
still need the
no, I
foundation of
would.
doing that?
No, I definitely would suggest, I mean, you have to go to cosmetology school to get your license and
Oh,
different
yeah.
things of that nature, unless you apprentice under someone, which is not as good. You know what I mean? You really should go to cosmetology school and get that foundation, get that basis, and get that theory, because most people are not disciplined enough to learn it on their own. And you really, really need to have that, like I said, to understand why the hair breaks with relaxer and color, and what happens when you're bleaching hair and lightening hair and toning hair and all these things. So those are the things that you'll learn in school. But once you come out of school, now it's time to really invest in that formal education, as far as like the advanced training. It's time to do that, and you'll start to go to different cutting classes and different styling classes and things of that nature. So that's what I did.
With you being
But it's definitely necessary.
yes, with you being a flight attendant, because I want to go back to this question.
Okay.
So with you being a flight attendant, you're traveling, you're flying in various different cities, in and out. I am just curious because my interest in fashion and like Hollywood, it was only natural for me to be drawn to New York and LA, right?
Right.
There are two metropolitan hubs that continually attract people from all walks of life.
Right.
And so I am just so curious because, you said that, oh, Jackie was my first like celebrity client. And I'm just curious, wanting to know, like, what attracted you to Atlanta and the place to establish and develop your endeavors versus like these two major hubs where everyone seems to gravitate towards. I mean, clearly now we're in 2023, people like to, they make their decisions based upon like what their interests are. So Atlanta definitely is a resurgence of its own Hollywood and music. But what was yours at the time to make that decision to move there?
Well, Atlanta, growing up in Mississippi, it was just drilled into me, as a little kid. Everybody talked about Atlanta. Everybody wanted to grow up and move to Atlanta. And so my sister and her husband, they did that first. She was a year ahead of me. And so she moved to Atlanta, and I would get an opportunity to go and hang out and just fall in love with the city, as everybody does when they move there. And so I got a chance to see it, and it felt right. And so I went there as a flight attendant, and then when I decided to become a hairstylist, it was just right on point, because Atlanta was becoming the mecca of Black Hollywood, and I did have some interest in doing celebrity hair, and I was just at the right place at the right time. Atlanta it's an amazing city, and it just has it has an opportunity for everybody to do so many different things when it relates to fashion and all of those filmmaking and different things like that. So I went on from Jackie Reed, to after Jackie Reed was tiny, and I did long hair. Can you believe that?
I
That
can't
was my
believe
work.
it.
I used to do all of Tiny's long hair. She had very long hair at the time and all of her colors. I don't know if you remember like a lot of her hair colors, like in the early 2000s, she may have
Yeah,
blonde and red
yeah,
and all of that. So
yeah.
that was Candy. And so I started doing Candy's hair, and this is when Candy's hair was long and natural, and I pressed it. I used to be the press girl too, so I started doing Candy. Lee after Rashawn Ali, it was Kelly Rowland. So it's right. So with Kelly Rowland, she was doing a transition where she was, rebranding and everything. And so they asked me to do a photo shoot with her, and Rob Ector is a very famous photographer. And I
Oh,
did, and
yeah.
it was just a really, really big deal. She went short, and so I was doing all of her short hair work. So I was flying back and forth to Miami from Atlanta to Miami. And it was just a whole lot going on. I was on The Real Housewives of Atlanta 4 or 5 times with Candy. So all of Candy's funky short haircuts with the mohawks and the blonde and this and
Yeah.
that. That's all my work. So that's
Mm.
so I started doing that, and then it just kind of became a thing.
Yeah. And that's where Atlanta was just like, okay, well, this is like my stomping ground. This is where I'm gonna stay and
Yeah.
just build my
Yeah,
business.
it was just exactly. It was just a place to be if you wanted to do celebrity hair, because everything started moving to Atlanta, all the filmmaking and everything. And now it's more films and stuff being filmed in Atlanta than Hollywood these
Anywhere,
days.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Especially during
Yeah.
COVID, because it was so many regulations and
Absolutely.
lockdowns that it was like people were like going there. They were just like, well, damn, they're wide open. Let's just,
Right.
uproot and move
Yeah.
there for a minute.
Yeah.
Succeeding in your business and succeeding in business and sustaining a success is a reason to celebrate, right? Yet
Absolutely.
life has its share of curveballs, and the decisions that you make during those times can significantly impact your life's direction. I can speak for
Absolutely.
myself. Like, I've had situations in my life where I felt a bit like I was just on this momentum where I was just going and I was just like, oh, I'm undefeated, like I'm unstoppable. And then
Right.
something happens and it completely shifts my thoughts to be like, well, wait a minute, maybe I should be a bit more realistic in my approach and how I make the decisions that I make. But then ultimately I take the risk because I just never know what could be on the other side of it. Right.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
so I am so curious because you met your husband, and you guys, I see the hashtag hanging with the Hawkins. I'm not going to get too much into it because I know you guys are going to be doing your own thing, like your own podcast and things like that. But I'm just curious of, what ultimately led you, because you're no longer in Atlanta. You now are in Maryland, right outside of DC in the DMV area. You have your, your salon out here thriving very well, might I say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what ultimately led you to decide to relocate and open a business in another city after marrying your husband, especially considering your success in Atlanta?
Right.
Because listen, here's the thing, Paula. I would think that I would have to question twice to be like, I've been here for a long time. Like, how am I gonna start over again? You know what I mean? Like, I remember seeing an episode with like the Kardashians and Kanye at the time when they were dating, wanted her to uproot everything from LA to move to Colorado. And she's like, I can't do that. Like, everything is here. You know what I mean? So like, where does your mindset come into saying, okay, I'm gonna take the risk and I'm gonna do this?
Well, I don't know. So that whole little thing, it just kind of really kind of happened kind of fast. When you have it in your heart that you're ready to make to find that love of your life and things of that nature, it just kind of happened. And I met my husband online. And I know you know the story and everything, but I met my husband online, and we both knew from the start that this would be a real, it was a connection. It was a real connection. And one thing led to another. We realized that we were really compatible in so many different areas. And yes, I was very successful in Atlanta, and that was where everything was, but I never felt like Atlanta should be my final destination.
Ooh.
So when I met him, um, you know what's really crazy. Let me just expand upon that little thing
Yes.
really, really quick, because I know a
Okay.
lot of people are out there and they're like scared of online dating and different things of that nature.
Yes.
But a girlfriend of mine, Nija, you know, she owns Like the River. So she and I were both single at the time, and we were online dating. And so I we would sit at the bar sometimes and just for fun, swipe to the left, swipe to the right.
Yeah.
And we would always kind of I would help her judge and she would help me judge. And so when I swiped on my husband, I looked and I said, "Oh my God, he is so handsome. He's just my type. He is so my type." And
He is hearing all
which
of this.
was
He's like, yes, tell the story.
that's Mr. Hawkins over there. But so yeah, I was like, yeah. So I jokingly said to Nija, I looked and I said, I know he ain't gonna be from Atlanta. Sure enough, I looked down there and it said DC. Now, one thing I'm gonna tell you about online dating,
Yes.
all of the handsome, tall men were from the DMV area. It was just like that,
Stop.
you know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
I
And
love that for my city.
all of them, everyone. Anytime you saw somebody that was tall or handsome, they were from the DMV area, right? So
Love
I
that.
looked, I said, he's probably from the DMV, and sure enough, looked at his profile and it said Washington D.C. And I'm like, wow. So I said to Nija, I said, either I'm gonna have to move to DC or he gonna have to move to Atlanta, just like that, right?
What?
How about with this particular dating site? I'm not going to say the name because they need to be a sponsor of ours
Yes.
later.
Yeah.
But this particular dating site, the woman gets to speak first. She gets to approach first. So it really kind of works
Nice.
out better for women. So I said to him when I first texted him the first time I, spoke with him on the dating site, I said, "Hi, Randall, nice to meet you." And the first thing he said is he says, "What's going on? Either you're gonna move to DC or I'm moving to Atlanta." And that was our first
What?
words. And it was so crazy. And I'm like,
Stop.
okay, no lie. That's what we said. And I laughed because I just told Nigel he gonna have to move to Atlanta or I'm moving to DC before I'd even met him. You know what I mean? So it just kind of went like that. And it was a real connection. And one thing led to another. We're older. We knew that we wanted to not be on the dating site. We were
Yes.
dating with a purpose. You know what I mean? Some people date for sport. We were dating for purpose. So once we met each other, we knew it was a really good connection. I'd come here and he would come to Atlanta and we would, go back and forth. And then 6 months later, he proposed to me and I said, yes, of course. And once I said yes, I'm like, okay, wow, yes, that means that I'm going to have to, move here because unfortunately he couldn't move to Atlanta. I would have loved for him to be able to move to Atlanta.
Yeah.
But he has I have a bonus son. I have a 10-year-old bonus son and he's very instrumental in his life. So he didn't really want to just uproot him from, this state and take him away and take him all the way down to Atlanta. So I made the decision to say, you know what, I'm gonna uproot. But I'd come up one time before and I did a pop-up class here.
That was
And the
smart.
pop-up was very, very it went very well, so to speak. And I did clients, and as soon as I said that I was going to be doing hair in the DMV, so many people popped on, and I'm like, wow,
That
I
was
didn't even
so
know I had
smart. That's how I felt because, just as a backstory for everyone, I met Paula. I was living in LA at the time. And my ex that I was with, his mom lived in Alabama. So we were traveling to go see his mom. And at that point, I was already in the transition of like wanting to cut my hair. So I was just like, oh my God, this is the perfect time because we're going to go see his mom. And I didn't realize how close Tuskegee was to Atlanta. And I think it's like a 30-minute, 45-minute drive. And so I was like, great, this is my opportunity. Now I can put her hands in my hair. And so that was my first time meeting Paula. And then fast forward to now that I'm back in the DMV area, and to see I was starting to see you pop up back and forth into DC, not aware of like why, but I was just like, I thought it was more so for your business. And then when you're like, I'm moving, I'm like, oh my God, tears. Thank you, Jesus.
And it worked out,
It
thank
did.
God it worked out. So when I would come up here, I was doing different things that every time I came here, I always made it a public announcement. Some people don't choose to put their lives publicly on social media, but for me, I had an ulterior motive. I wanted to see what that followership was like up here. And sure enough, the very first time I came to the Maryland area, the very first time I came to see him, we went out to dinner. He took me out to dinner to Eddie V's. And this lady came up to me. You remember that? This lady came up and she was just like, she just hugged me and she was just like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, okay, who is this? You know what I mean? And I realized then, she goes, oh, I follow you on Instagram. I'm like, wow. So it just became a thing, So while we were still dating, I would come up and I'm like, these people really love me up here in the Maryland area. I'm loving that. They really do. Maybe I can give up what I have in Atlanta and come here, and it was a very difficult task. I'm not gonna lie. It was difficult because Atlanta was
Home.
pretty much home for me. You know what I mean? I built my everything, my career there, but I cared enough about my husband. I loved him enough that I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. And at first I was still doing hair in Atlanta and I was doing hair here in Maryland. I'd gone into a salon here just to kind of see, what it would be like. And one day he asked me, because it was a lot on me. I was jumping on a plane like every Wednesday, and I would take clients on Thursday and Friday there, and I would come back. It was just a whole lot. And so, I guess he really was like, gosh, I really want my wife doing this. So he asked me, he was like, so why are you doing this? Are you doing this more for income, or are you doing it more for loyalty to your clients there? And I had to think about it. And I thought, at first I thought, well, yeah, income, because I make a nice little coin there in Atlanta. And so I was like, but he was like, but you're making the same thing here. They love you just as much here. You can make the same money here. So why are you going back and forth? And so then I realized that it was because of the loyalty that I had to my clientele there. And just to have that, it was habitual. I was servicing it. I had clients I've been servicing. Rashawn Ali, for instance, who is Miss Tandy on I've been servicing Rashawn for like 18 or 19 years, and every week we've done several things together, different shows together. She made me hair and makeup of the Sister Circle. She made me the lead hair and makeup of Sister Circle. So I had quite a relationship with, these people. But at the end of the day, I was ready for a change, and I was looking forward to it. And I enjoyed myself very much when I come up here and visit him. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's try it. And one thing led to another. Next thing you know, I was here.
It speaks volumes. It speaks volumes to the fact that where you are is not who you are. It's in you, that your skill set is what your skill set, and social media is so powerful. And what propelled you to be able to be anywhere, you know what I mean, and still retain the clientele.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've often thought, because over the years, different stylists will come, people love to move to Atlanta. People will come in and they will be like, oh, I just moved here from Texas, or I just moved here from New York, and different things of that nature. And I'm like, these people had such a following in those states. How do you just pick up and go to another state and do it all over again? And I'm like, God, I've always wondered that. And so I got an opportunity to experience it. But I give thanks first to God for even giving me the skill set and the mindset to even do the social media. But real talk, Instagram put me on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really did. It really, really propelled me. It gave me a platform to be kind of a worldwide person. I have people that'll reach out to me from Africa and tell me, oh my God,
gosh,
you would come here to Africa to do a class. And so
you're going.
Yes, you're going. You're gonna help. But so that's what it was. And when I came here, it just happened. It clicked. And I think it was to the the element of newness. People like new and fun stuff, and
Yeah.
coming here, it just people just start to gravitate towards me. And I think I bring a little Southern charm.
Yes.
So
Oh, I love
Southern
that.
charm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
I think
love
the Southern charm helps.
Yeah, and I love love. So like, you know, when I had taken a brief moment from like social media, and then like when I had came back on, like literally when I mean took a brief moment, like a couple months off, just because I was just going through my own things. And once I had like put it back on my phone, and then I just turned it on. I was just kind of scrolling, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Paula went live. And so like, let me just go on here. And then the first live that I had seen was of you and your husband like on the back porch, and like you were talking about your life and your experience. I was like, oh my gosh, love.
Yeah, we love
Um,
to share that because so many people, it's so interesting that you said you love love. So many people love love,
yeah.
period. They love love. And so many people love to hear our story. And so
Yeah.
that's what really kind of, gave us the idea of saying, let's do a podcast. So many people suggested when we go live, they're like, oh my God, we missed you guys hanging with the Hawkins. We missed the Hawkins, and it became a thing. And I think they like him more than they like me. I think he's known as the DJ, like he brings the ultimate sounds
No,
behind the hanging with the
listen.
Hawkins.
I will
Oh my
literally
gosh.
no. I'm like literally. I was like, there was one part of your live where I'm like listening to the music, and I'm like trying to write it in my notes, like what is the lyrics, so I can go into Apple to like try to save it. I'm like, oh, I love the sound. Like, what is that? Who is
Yeah,
that?
yeah. They
Yeah.
love that music, girl. As soon as he picks something, because he has such an intricate taste in music. Like he loves music, like
That could be another thing.
literally,
Yeah, hanging with the Hawkins, that
literally.
playlist. You guys should create
Oh
one.
my God. Yeah, we really and
Please.
I need your help with that because we need
Yeah.
to orchestrate all of that because when I tell you his playlist, we made our own playlist for our wedding. We started working on it when we got engaged. We started working on it because we wanted certain songs to be played at our wedding. And we chose everything handpicked, and we would sit down and we would sit at the bar and have a cocktail. We both love a good old cocktail.
Yeah.
So we would sit at our island and listen to different songs, like verbally, like listening to the lyrics. And he would come with these songs. Like I'd be like, wow, I've heard that, but I never listened to it. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And
Yeah.
that's who he is. He likes to really, really listen to those lyrics, and they have meaning.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I have to give him all the
Credit.
credit when it comes to our sounds and just providing that moment and that what makes hanging with the Hawkins so much fun because all
Yes.
the people that follow us on live, they're like, oh my God, they'll say something like, oh my God, there's Gregory Porter. And he introduced me to Gregory Porter. I had no clue who Gregory
Wow.
Porter was
Yeah.
prior to meeting him, and just his love of music. So that's one of the things, and that's a really good idea to do a whole a playlist of hanging with
Yeah, we'll
I
talk
hang with
about
the Hawkins.
we'll talk about that more
Talk about that
after the
later.
interview. Yeah, because I have some more things that I can tell you about that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
speaking of like love, what do
Mhm.
you love about being a Black woman?
Ooh, everything. Everything. I love everything about being a Black woman. I love that our struggle has been so real and it has made us, who we are. Black women, I feel like Black women are strong women. They're very proud women. And I just love, let me see, how can I put this? What else do I love about being a Black woman?
Yeah.
I love the confidence that
Mhm.
I love it when a person, doesn't think that we can achieve the things that we can achieve, and we show them every
Right.
time without fail that Black women, we got it.
Come
We've
on.
always been in style. We've always been in style, and
Yes.
back to slavery.
Mhm.
If you
Okay.
want to put it, mildly, everybody always wanted the Black woman. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We are queens and we are attractive, and I just love being Black because it's just it's who I am, and I'm very proud.
Mhm.
I like going outside of the boundaries when a person thinks that you can't do it and you show up and you do it every time.
Oh my
I
gosh,
love
every
that.
time, every time. What's a favorite feature
love
of?
my skin. I love my skin,
Oh, come
honey.
on now.
I love
Yes.
the skin, and I love, black don't crack like
Yes.
that
I was
anyway.
telling,
You know what I mean?
I had another interview earlier this month, and me and her were go back and forth about this question, and she was just like, I always ask God, and I was like, I say the same thing. I'm like, if God, if I come back again, let me come back as a Black woman.
Please and thank you. With bigger boobs. Just kidding. I'm good with the good old, the norm. I'm good with that. But yeah, I definitely would want to come back as a Black woman.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's your
Go ahead.
No, what were we gonna say?
I love being a Black woman, and I love how our skin can change with the hues of the sun, and it
Yes.
becomes more golden. I just got back from Jamaica, and I love Jamaica because I get a really, really good tan in Jamaica, and it's still it just bronzes us out. So I love the fact that we have so much melanin in our skin and things, and different things like that to just give us that exotic look.
What is your favorite feature of yourself and why? And it doesn't have to be physical.
Okay. So my favorite feature, and it doesn't have to be physical. Well, let me just give you two then.
Okay.
So my favorite feature physically of myself is probably my smile. My smile. My husband thinks that, well, we he that's his favorite feature as well, as my smile. And especially being told as a kid that my lips were big, and you have those big old lips and stuff, and kids are really cruel, and they can punish you. They can give you a huge complex. But I made sure that, well, as I grew up, I started to embrace, and I love my lips and I love my smile. They can get bigger. I'm okay with that. But one of my best features, non-physical features, I would say would probably be my personality. I think that I have a good vibe and a good personality, and I like to make people feel good, so I think that would be that.
Yeah. And then my last question, what's a takeaway beauty secret you can share with our viewers?
What takeaway? Say it one more time.
A takeaway beauty secret. And again, that question does not have to be physical as well. So
let me think. A beauty secret. I would say show up and stay ready so that you don't have to get ready all the time. You know what I mean? I'm growing up in the South. My mother, she's a Southern Belle again. I think I'm a Southern Belle to a certain degree too. Not as much as her though. But when you go places, always show up looking the part, and it's going to always be lasting with people. She always looks good whenever she goes somewhere. That's one thing too. And I don't want to keep, because I know this interview isn't about my husband, but one of the things about him as a man is that he's very, very well groomed. And he's very groomed, and he inspires me, to be honest with you. He really, like, when we're getting ready to go somewhere, I'm already knowing, like, get your butt up, get it together, pull it together, baby, because he gonna jump out there on you, and he gonna be flying, he gonna be groomed. And, he makes sure that every hair is in place.
It's not just your husband, it's a DMV thing.
Yeah. Okay. This is the whole DMV thing, and I think the fact that I have confidence, I think that's one of the things that I like best about myself, because I don't meet any strangers, and I can, I feel like I can pretty much, talk in any space at any table.
Yes, absolutely. This was such a great interview, Paula. Thank you so much. Give us all of your handles, where the followers can follow you, make an appointment. They're in the DMV area. If you want to fly into DC to get the Paula Perfect Pixie.
Yeah, that's right. So my IG is Paula's Perfect Pixie. My name is Paula Hawkins. Paula's Perfect Pixie is my IG name, and the Perfect Pixie Salon is the name of my salon, and that's so you can follow the Perfect Pixie Salon, and you can also follow Paula's Perfect Pixie on IG, both of those. And soon you'll be able to follow Hanging with the Hawkins.
Come on.
That's going to be a whole nother IG page, and more to come that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoy. I am always, we always, make so much. We make so much happen, so much magic happen whenever you come to the salon. And you're one of the clients, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You're one of the clients that I look forward to when I see your name on my schedule. I'm like, okay, because I know I'm gonna get a wealth of information and still sharp and still. You always bring something to the table that I didn't know, and I love the fact that you're so smart and you're so talented. And then I love that I have you as my client because you can help me in all those areas. So I love that.
Oh,
I appreciate it. Yeah.
I'll be there this Friday.
Yeah.
Make an appointment this Friday.
Okay. I'll see you this Friday then.
Yes.